Aubrey. How are you?
I'm great, Jessica. How are you?
I'm good. Um, we are continuing to talk about decisions today on Tuesday. Aubrey, you gave a wonderful Band 9 answer about a decision that you made, an important decision. And today we're going to continue with speaking part 3. Why are we doing the same topic in speaking part 3 today?
Very good question. Your part two answer and your part three questions will be related. So, whatever you're asked to describe in part two, you then move, the examiner will transition into part three, and those questions are going to at least start out very related. And so, you need to warm up your brain with your part two answer and be ready for these related part three questions.
Exactly. So today we are continuing with decisions, as we said. And before we get to that, I want to give a huge shout out to our student Zainab because we're doing speaking today. And this student increased her score from a speaking 6 to a speaking 8. That is 2 whole band points. So, listen up today, guys, because we're going to talk about some strategies and advice for speaking part 3 before we actually get to those model answers. So, Aubrey, how can a student get a great score in speaking part 3?
Yes, you need to know what score you would get if you took the test today. And we have set up a very quick quiz to help you know that. Go to allearsenglish.com/myscore, and you'll find out what band score you would get if you went and took the IELTS exam today. That will give you a better idea of what you need to work on and how long you need to study still before you take the exam.
Yes, exactly. So go to allearsenglish.com/myscore. So guys, today we're going to attempt to show you these strategies. You need to, first of all, remember that part 3 is formal. And so the linking words you choose must also be formal. What are some examples of formal linking words that are good for part 3, Aubrey?
Yeah, so if you're sharing an opinion, you could say, as a matter of fact, in my opinion, to be frank, right? These are quite formal, and you're wanting to
Mhm.
link ideas with these words that are more formal. If you're talking about something that's a consequence, consequently, or as a
Yeah.
result of this, as a consequence of this, you can feel
Nice.
how these are a little more formal than we speak when we're chatting with a friend.
Exactly, exactly. And don't use as a matter of fact to introduce an opinion.
Yeah, that's true. As a matter of
Unless
fact, I think.
but unless you combine it with an opinion phrase,
Right.
right? Because we do that. So, if you're looking to fill time, right? Because you're trying to think of support or ideas, you could be like, as a matter of fact, I do agree with blah, blah, blah. Because it is a fact that that's your opinion. So that
Right.
still works.
Good point,
Yes.
right? You could use as a matter of fact, but then you need to make it clear that you're sharing something that is an opinion.
Exactly, exactly. Maybe I'll try to do that in my model
Ooh, I
answers
like
coming
that.
up.
All right, we also have a fun poll to give you guys the results of. Recently, we asked, do you speak French? We had a lot of listeners respond to this, which was fun. Overwhelmingly, no. 88% of you do not speak French, but 12% did. So you're my people. You're all my people,
Surprising.
but I loved that. Yeah, 12% of you speak French. That's awesome.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
At the end of today's episode, guys, we will announce our next Spotify poll for this very episode. All right, let's get into some model answers. Okay, Aubrey, you are going to be the examiner today, and I am the candidate.
Perfect. And I'm going to take notes and give some feedback on Jessica's answers, what you guys need to also be doing in your answers to boost your scores. So stay tuned for that. All right, Jessica, your first question. Do parents in your country allow their children to make important decisions about the future?
Oh gosh, I mean that is kind of a vague question. I mean, decisions about the future. Yeah, I mean, I guess important decisions about the future, such as what they want to study, what they want their career path to be. Parents far and wide do let their children make that decision, which I know is different in other cultures. Like some of my friends from certain Asian countries, for example, their parents really push them in the direction of, business or IT or whatever. But here we kind of let our kids decide that for themselves for the most part. but other important decisions about the future, like where they're going to live, who they want to marry, yeah, we still leave this up to the kids. And I feel bad for parents that try and make those decisions for their kids, actually.
Nice. All right, I'm going to give quick feedback on this. I love the filler phrase you use to say, that is kind of a vague question. And keep in mind, you can replace that adjective vague with anything about the question. That is kind of a specific question. That is kind of a bizarre question. And it's this great
Yeah.
long filler phrase that you can say kind of slowly and emphasize those adjectives, great pronunciation, all while you think of your answer to the question, right? Because sometimes
Yeah.
questions are a little tricky. You need a couple seconds to decide what you think.
Because like initially I was thinking, no, like we make a lot of decisions for our kids. That would be weird. But then I was like, oh no, important decisions about the future.
The
Okay, no.
future, yeah.
We do let them make those.
We let them make those, right? We certainly try to influence them, but we do let them decide
Yeah.
the big things, what they're going to do in the future. Okay, second question. Ready?
All right.
Do you think decision making today is different from decision making in the past?
Yes, actually. Yeah, I think for sure it is because if we go far enough back in the past, there were fewer decisions to make is the thing. And fewer options for the decisions that we were making. So, let's take for example, choosing where one is going to live or choosing where one is going to spend the rest of one's life. Like in the past, I feel like that was kind of a given because there weren't that many options. You couldn't, most people could not choose to go live in another country if they wanted. They were limited to very local options, or at least national options, right? But today, shoot, you could literally decide to move to another country like next month if you wanted to. Even if you feel like you don't have a lot of money, you could, you know, get an extra job and be a Lyft driver for a month and save that for a plane ticket. So, yeah, I think decision making today is very different and to me feels but much more difficult because there are way too many options for every decision we make these days.
Ugh, amazing. Okay, a few amazing things I want to point out. Such a good answer. I love how you added is the thing at the end. The statement you said was there are fewer decisions to make is the thing. This is so native and natural. And it is sort of a little like informal, but I also want to point out you can be a little more informal on part 3 like this, because when you are answering the question, your vocab will be more formal, your linking phrases will be more formal, but you're still speaking very natively and naturally. You're not going to like, stop yourself from saying something that's a little more informal, because that's going to affect your fluency. That's going to cause pauses and hesitations. You want to
Yeah.
say it the way you're used to saying it. You're just also adding these more formal phrases. Another example of this is you said, today, shoot, blah, 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 right? Shoot's a pretty informal word, but this is just the way we speak when we're answering
Yeah.
a question, right? So you're more formal with these part 3 questions just because they're more serious topics, but there will be some informal vocab too. And don't stop yourself if you find yourself about to say like, today, shoot, don't stop, like, oh no, I can't say that because it's part 3. That's an interesting thing to point out. And then just amazing
Yes.
intonation, especially at the end. Go back and listen, guys, and notice how her tone changes so much and she's hitting words harder. There's no monotone here. So it's a band 9 pronunciation score.
I don't think no matter what I'm saying I can ever be monotone. I
No,
think that
you'd have a
is
hard time.
I think that is very difficult.
But
All
in a
right, guys.
second language, right? I'm also very expressive in English, and then sometimes I'll be speaking Spanish, and I'm focused so
Yeah.
much on the vocabulary that I find myself
True.
slipping into a monotone. So I know
Me
how hard it
too.
is for you guys learning English. You
Definitely.
have to think about it. You can't just be thinking about the vocabulary. You also have to think about your pronunciation and your intonation.
That's a good point. That's a good point for sure. You do have to be intentional about increasing every part of your speaking, right? From pronunciation to vocabulary to fluency. Okay, guys. So for more practice, come back to the blog, allearsenglish.com. Today's episode will have a blog post about it, and we'll put an extra part 3 question in there about decisions for you guys to practice. Go ahead and leave a comment on that blog post, guys, and let us know how you would answer today's part 3 question. questions. And if you're watching this on YouTube, IELTS Energy TV, leave us your answer in the comments today on this on also blog post on this
On
YouTube
this
video, guys.
video. Yes. And we have a
All right.
poll for today's episode. I will share it.
Yes.
We want you to answer in the Spotify poll that first question. Do parents in your country allow their children to make important decisions about the future? Just a yes or no, but we'd love to share the results very soon. So go over and answer that on Spotify.
Awesome. Awesome. All right, Aubrey, thank you for doing some speaking practice with me this week. And I'll see you on Monday.
Awesome. See you Monday. Bye.
Bye.